On today's show, we are talking all things World Juniors. We'll talk about which Stars players will be participating in this year's tournament, talk about some of the favorites and the overall players to be on the lookout for, because this is the future of the National Hockey League on display for all the world to see. We'll talk about this tournament on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily in-season podcast covering the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, credentialed member of the Dallas Stars media, coming to you on this Monday, August 8th. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. And whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring listener of the show, thank you for stopping by today's episode and for making Locked On Stars your first listen every single day. Be sure to subscribe to our show on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting platform. Remember, we are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. Thank you guys for tuning in and getting your week started off right with Locked On Stars. And while the NHL may be at a slow point in the offseason, there is still plenty of hockey news to dive into, as this week will begin the World Juniors Tournament in Edvinson, Alberta, starting on Tuesday and running all the way through August 20th. This tournament will feature several countries from around the globe competing for hockey glory, including Slovakia, Canada, Finland, Czechia, Latvia, USA, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, and last but not least, the country of Austria. And starting off with some of the lesser-known Dallas Stars prospects and/or teams that, while they'll still be participating and have plenty of talent, might not be considered favorites to win the tournament. As I'm sure many of you know and are not surprised, Canada comes in as the favorites to win the tournament, with the defending champion United States right behind them. But there is still plenty of talent throughout this tournament for every single country, and the Dallas Stars are pretty well represented, not as well represented as they've been in previous outings on the national stage, but still some players to be on the lookout for, starting with the nation of Sweden. Two later round picks in two of the three recent NHL drafts. We have Daniel Youngman, the 5th round pick for the Dallas Stars in the 2020 draft, and Albert Sjoberg, the 7th round pick in the 2021 NHL draft, both suiting up and playing for Team Sweden in this tournament. And of course, it's easy to see where these guys were taken in the draft and maybe say, you know, they're not the big name prospects. They're guys that aren't going to be up there with your Johnstons, Borks, and Stankovens, but they're certainly that are, you know, they're guys that are still worth being on the lookout for this tournament, because, you know, these are guys that are going to be on this, you know, not just a national stage, but a worldwide stage, looking to make the most of their opportunity alongside other really high-profile Swedish players like Simon Edvinson of the Detroit Red Wings, Jonathan Lekkerimäki for the Canucks, a guy I talked about the Stars potentially drafting, a really nice offensive threat, and Liam Bichsel of the Minnesota Wild, a guy that could potentially crack that Minnesota Wild roster somewhere down the road, a guy worth watching to see how he could turn out and what threat he could pose as a member of the Central Division. And again, guys like, you know, Youngman and Sjoberg might not ever see the NHL roster, but it is moments like these that can truly alter the trajectory of an NHL career. I mean, if you have a really good performance at the World Juniors, that will add a little bit of stock to your name and to your personal brand. And who knows what could happen, whether you end up cracking the NHL roster of the team that drafted you, or you become a really highly sought after, you know, trade piece, or a player that can be traded to a different organization where you might get some more play time, or you might see, you know, your development take a big leap forward depending on where you go. So these are guys that are likely going to be trying to make the best out of their situation. Again, there is a lot of really good NHL talent from the nation of Sweden, and so there's going to be plenty of young hotshot players on the Swedish roster looking to make a name for themselves in this tournament. Now, taking a shift to the nation of Switzerland and kind of a shocking turn. I know many of us now know the news kind of came out last week that Dallas Stars 2022 first rounder Liam Bichsel will not be playing in the World Juniors this week or for the rest of this month of August, representing Team Switzerland, a guy that was likely going to be the number one guy, one of the better known players, having been a highly drafted prospect from his home country by the Dallas Stars, picked at 18th overall just a month ago in Montreal. And this is very disappointing news for both his Swedish hockey club that he's been playing professionally for, as well as, of course, his new NHL team in the Dallas Stars, who were both extremely excited to see how he could perform on such a big stage in front of a national audience against some of the best young hockey talent in the world. And the reason seemed to be because he needs to rest. These are words really from his agent and what he's been telling both the Stars and his club back with the Swedish Hockey League, injury prevention and just needing rest, which, of course, initially you might want to sympathize with that and say you understand. But you also think about it. I mean, he surely does have to know how grueling and intense an NHL season can be, right? I mean, that's just part of the deal. I mean, you go to play professional sports, especially in a high-profile league like the National Hockey League, you have to recognize how physically demanding that can be. And so I just think this is an odd, maneuver or move from him. Clearly, you don't want to, make these judgments because we obviously don't know everything going on in his life right now or his situation as a whole. But a guy who was drafted as high as he was and a guy who seems to be gaining as much hype as a defensive prospect as him, he's a guy that you really would want to see compete on a stage like the World Juniors. And, he won't ever be this young again. He's really young, a really physical player, but a guy that many people are counting on to help be an anchor for their team for years to come, whether that's while he's still playing in Sweden, and then eventually if he does make the leap to the NHL playing for the Dallas Stars, whatever the coaching staff is there and whatever other teammates of his will be there, they are going to be counting on him to potentially be a cornerstone of the defensive core. And so this is a small, I think right now, kind of mark against him right now that, hopefully this is something that blows over in the grand scheme of things and we forget about this and he goes on to have a very fantastic NHL career. But right now, this is a little bit concerning and something that I think is a little bit odd because he didn't participate in Stars development camp, so we really haven't seen a whole lot of hockey from Bichsel ever since he was drafted by the Stars back in July in Montreal. And this was, going to be an opportunity for him to kind of display his talents, and we could fully get an introduction to the kind of player that the Stars picked with their first round selection. And it's just odd because he sat out of Stars development camp supposedly so he could rest up and prepare for World Juniors, didn't do development camp, and now he's not doing World Juniors either. Again, I hope this is a situation that we're somewhat blowing out of proportion, something that, 10 years from now we totally forget about, but in the moment, a little disappointing because I was truly excited to see how Liam Bichsel would kind of, present himself after being taken with the 18th overall pick by the Stars in the 2022 NHL draft. Well, coming up next, we will take a look at Team Canada as they boast some of the biggest names as far as NHL prospects, a team looking to win gold and looking to take the title back from the United States. We'll talk about Logan Stankoven and Team Canada after a quick break. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Athletic Greens and their product AG1. So what's in this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro-habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take great care of yourself. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Moving on this Monday episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, talking about the World Juniors Tournament starting up in Edvinson this week. We talked about some of the Stars prospects that will be participating for Team Sweden, as well as one that will not be participating for Team Switzerland and Liam Bichsel. But now we shift our focus to the favorites in Team Canada. This is the big one, and there is a lot to like on this Canadian roster in terms of the future of the National Hockey League. We will, of course, take a look at Team USA in a little bit, which, of course, being American myself, likely going to be the team I will overall be rooting for, but there is still a lot of good potential for the future of the National Hockey League on this roster. And, of course, for Dallas Stars fans, a name that we all know and admire and hope will be one of the faces of the franchise and hopefully just a handful of seasons. This will be a fantastic opportunity to get to see Logan Stankoven play on a big stage against some fantastic competition. He will, of course, be playing against some of the best competition in the world, but he will also be playing alongside some of the best hockey talent in the world, and many project that he could be on a top line with Kent Johnson, who is a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets organization, and Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks organization. And Team Canada also boasts plenty of other talented players like Olin Zellweger of the Anaheim Ducks, Tyson Forster of the Philadelphia Flyers, and, of course, the projected 2023 first overall pick in Connor Bedard. I mean, just so many big names on this NHL roster, guys that, have such high profiles and their ceilings seem to be incredibly high, and the future, again, of the league seemingly riding on a lot of these guys' shoulders, including Logan Stankoven, who, has been a hot topic for the Dallas Stars organization really ever since the start of last season in the WHL, where he just set the league on fire. And now there's some people saying that he has a shot to potentially crack an NHL roster spot. Definitely not a given, with the amount of other really gifted NHL prospects within the Stars organization like Wyatt Johnston, Maverick Bourque, Antonio Stranges. The list goes on and on. But Logan Stankoven, this is going to be a huge outing for him to try to make his name known amongst some of the other really big names, whether it be, a guy like McTavish or Bedard. Guys that are, going to be getting a lot of on-ice time at a team that is looking to make a deep run in this tournament. And I think this will give us a big indication of the kind of year that Stankoven will have and be a great look for him going into Stars training camp later in September to kind of give us an idea is this guy ready to potentially take a run at a roster spot, or will he need one more year with his junior club before he's able to officially make the jump? I, for one, am excited to see what kind of highlights come out of this, because he seems to just be a skating highlight reel, just with his ability, his skating, the way he uses a stick. Very, very excited to see how Logan Stankoven performs on this stage and to see where he is truly at in his development now, with a little bit of time off since the WHL season came to an end, and now going against some of the best competition on the planet. Well, coming up next, we will take a shift down south from Canada and talk about Team USA. And though the Dallas Stars may not be represented, there is still plenty of implications going forward for the Central Division, as well as just the rest of the NHL world. We'll talk about Team USA after a quick break. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor, delicious, indulgent cookie dough covered in 100% real chocolate. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. And what's great about Built is that all of their bars are made with collagen protein, which your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. So you can eat something that tastes delicious and is good for you. You're going to love the new cookie dough chunk puff. Whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite, Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than any candy bar. So ditch the calories, ditch the fat, ditch the sugar, and grab yourself a Built bar. You can go to Built.com right now and use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order at Built.com. All right, we're closing out this Monday episode of Locked on Stars, talking about Team USA. I know I'm from the United States. I know many of you listening also from the United States and know some of these names on this team because some of these players were drafted either this year or in the past year and are guys that are expected to be kind of this next generation of great American-born players in the NHL. And Team USA coming into this tournament looking to go back-to-back, looking to defend their title from 2021 when they were led by Calder finalist in 2022, Trevor Zegras. And this team this season certainly not lacking in the talent department, as one of the biggest names on the team will be 2022 third overall pick Logan Cooley of the Arizona Coyotes organization. He will be under a huge microscope throughout this tournament to see what he's made of, a guy that is projected to be a future cornerstone of that Coyotes franchise, certainly in the middle of a rebuild right now, but a team that will hopefully, in their eyes, one day be competitive yet again, and they're hoping that Cooley is a big part of that, and he could potentially be a big player and cause a lot of problems in the Central Division for years to come. But he is not the only guy on this team that has a bright future ahead of him. Luke Hughes was the 4th overall pick for the New Jersey Devils back in the 2021 NHL draft. Brock Faber, a guy that came to the Minnesota Wild through the Kevin Fiala trade at the start of the NHL offseason. He's a guy to certainly keep an eye out for. Two really strong defensemen in Hughes and Faber. They will also be without a player like Matty Beniers, the guy who was the first draft pick for the Seattle Kraken franchise, a guy with a very bright future and tons of potential ahead of him. But still on the offensive side, they have a plethora of offensive talent, whether it's Brett Berard of the New York Rangers franchise, Matt Coronado of the Calgary Flames franchise. I mean, the list goes on and on. The United States will certainly have a target on their back, having been winners of the previous tournament. And, they're kind of hoping to, display, like I said, the future of some of these really gifted American-born players with guys like, Joe Pavelski, Phil Kessel, kind of on their way out, guys that have been known as some of the best American-born players. And even a guy like Patrick Kane, who is older and certainly not the player that he once was. We are now seeing this new generation, some guys that have been in the league for, maybe longer than others, but other guys that still have most of their careers ahead of them. Guys like Austin Matthews, Trevor Zegras, Jack Eichel, Alex DeBrincat, Kyle Connor. So many gifted American players in the league right now. And this Team USA squad participating in the World Juniors here in Edvinson this month, looking to add their names to that list and kind of be the next great generation of American-born players playing in the National Hockey League. Because, it just seems to always be Canada and the United States, but there are still, as we know, and even here in Dallas, some of the best players on the team right now, of course, Joe Pavelski, an American-born player, but a ton of guys from Finland, John Klingberg from Sweden, Jacob Peterson from Sweden. Just a ton of talent from across the globe in the World Juniors, and that's the exciting part about this tournament is, we mentioned it at the top of the show, this tournament can truly be career-altering for some players if they go out and give a big performance or, have a really solid tournament that could either, if they're not already in the NHL and they're eligible for the draft in 2023, it could raise their draft stock. If they're a guy that's kind of meddling around their organization or never really seeming to crack an NHL roster, if they go out and have a good tournament here, that could change their fate there. Truly exciting stuff, and it all gets started on Tuesday with 3 games: Czechia versus Slovakia, Latvia versus Finland, and then it caps off with the United States versus Germany. This tournament, again, going from tomorrow, Tuesday, August 9th, all the way through August 20th. I believe it will be streaming on TSN, which I know, at least for me here in Texas in the United States, might not be the easiest to come by or stream, but If you can find a way to stream and or watch, I highly encourage you to do so, hopefully to get to watch some of these Dallas Stars prospects, as well as just the plethora of other really gifted young hockey players that will sooner or later be in the NHL and wreaking havoc across the hockey world. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you again for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Please do subscribe here on YouTube, trying to get to 700 subscribers and hopefully 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year 2022. You can also find us and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. We are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. You can also find and follow me on Twitter at Dane_Lewis, as well as our show at Locked On Stars. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will be back here on Wednesday.